Welcome to Kamikaze Overdrive MMA predictions for UFC 120. But it's become a custom, let's quickly go back to the last show, UFC 119. 119 was by far my best set of predictions, as I finished with a record of 5-2, pushing my overall mark to 16-11. Now, I was quite happy with the 5-2 record, but it was more than apparent that Evan Dunham could and probably should have been awarded the victory over Sean Shirk, which would have won me some money with a 5-0 main card record. It's not the first time I've had money taken out of my pockets by the judges, and I'm sure it won't be the last. But I digress. As always, my videos are affiliated with sportsinteraction.com. Please click on the link in the description to sign up to bet on MMA and get your free money for depositing. There's also a link that will lead you directly to a customer service representative if you have any questions about sportsinteraction.com. Moving on to the fights at hand, UFC 120 will emanate from the O2 Arena in London, England on October 16th, 2010. There will be 5 fights on the main card, and this will be a free show on Spike TV, which is always nice. And without further ado, let's get to the fights. The opening fight of the night takes place in the welterweight division between home favorite 8-3 James Wilkes and 12-1 Claude Patrick. There are currently no odds posted for this fight yet, but I think they will be quite close. I think that Wilkes might be a slight favorite, but I'm not sure. I see the odds at $1.65 to $1.75 for Wilkes and $1.80 to $1.90 for Patrick. The Canadian is riding an 11-fight win streak, including winning his debut in the UFC over Ricardo Funch, while Wilkes has gone 1-1 in his last 2 fights after winning his UFC debut in the finals of the Ultimate Fighter 9. Breaking down the 2 fighters, Patrick has demonstrated that he is a more than capable Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner with 9 of his wins by submission, and more specifically 6 by guillotine choke, including his last 3 victories. Wilkes also possesses solid submission skills with 50% of his wins earned by submission. On top of this, both fighters have shown the ability to score a win with a knockout as they combined for 5 in their careers. I look at this fight as a very important fight for both fighters. Wilkes is fighting at home for only the 2nd time in his career. In his first fight in England, Wilkes was stopped midway through the 3rd round by Matt Brown and will do his best to avoid a second defeat on home soil. On top of this, it's the fact that a loss by the former Ultimate Fighter winner would drop his UFC record to 2-2 and push him way down the ranks and potentially to the preliminaries of any card outside of England. For Patrick, this fight is a big step up. He is jumping to the main card and taking on an opponent that will surely have the home crowd in his corner. Something that the Prince won't be used to, as he has only fought outside of his own home country on 1 occasion. When it comes right down to it, this fight will be won by the fighter that employs his skills more effectively and imposes his will on his opponent. Recently, the winners of the Ultimate Fighters have been struggling inside the octagon with the losses by Efrain Escudero and Ross Pearson. I think that James Wilkes could make it the trifecta. If I was a betting man, I think that Claude Patrick will have the edge in the fight, both in the striking game and on the mat. And seeing as that I am a betting man, I'll be taking Claude Patrick to defeat James Wilkes by submission late in the 2nd round, early 3rd. Up next, we move to the heavyweight division, where UFC veteran 25-6-1 Chet Congo takes on an undefeated 10-0 Travis Brown. Just like the previous fight, there are no odds for this matchup, so I'll venture a guess that Congo will be the favorite at around $1.45 to $1.60, while Brown will probably reside in the $240-260 area. Looking first at Congo, this will be his 13th fight in the UFC, and he will look to build upon a win over Paul Guentella that was preceded with 2 defeats against Frank Mir and Cain Velasquez. Conversely, the undefeated Brown will enter the octagon for only the 2nd time, but will look to build upon an impressive debut over James McSweeney. Comparing the fighters' physical attributes, the French kickboxer holds a slight 2-inch reach advantage over the Hawaiian, but that is where the veteran's advantages end. Brown tips the scale at 251 pounds, 14 pounds heavier than Congo. 14-pound difference outside of the heavyweight division would put these fighters in different weight classes. Adding to his size advantage, Brown will also be 3 inches taller than his opponent, standing 6 feet 7 inches tall, while Congo stands at 6'4". Now, we'll return to the importance of Brown's size advantage shortly. Congo is a talented striker with 9 knockouts in his career, but just as well known as Congo's striking ability is his struggles on the mat. Looking at 2 of his most recent defeats against Heath Herring and Cain Velasquez, Congo is defeated on the ground. In both fights, the French striker struggled on the mat and as a result dropped decisions in both those contests. Now, Brown has his own striking skills, which have resulted in 8 KO victories in 10 fights, and 4 of those knockouts came inside the first minute of the fight. But it is his most recent fight that grabbed my attention. Brown used his size advantage to put James McSweeney on his back and pounded his way to a first-round stoppage. That is where the size advantage will come into play. I think that if Brown is able to get inside Congo's reach and use his height and weight advantage to control the UFC veteran, he will be able to take control of the fight. With that being said, I think that this fight will be dictated by Brown's ability to put Kongo on his back. I can't see Brown not attempting to exploit Kongo's struggles on the mat in an effort to pick up the biggest win of his career. So my prediction for this heavyweight fight is Brown taking Kongo down and pounding his way to a stoppage victory in the first round. Again, there are no odds posted, but Brown will certainly be the underdog. Moving on to the welterweight matchup between undefeated 14-0 John Hathaway and 19-7-1 Mike Pyle. Hometown boy Hathaway will be a significant favorite entering this fight, paying $1.17, while Mike Pyle will be a very big underdog at $4.50. Pyle got this fight as a replacement for the injured Dong Young Kim and should expect both a very volatile crowd and a fired-up Hathaway looking to build on the biggest win of his career over Diego Sanchez. This will be both Hathaway and Pyle's fifth fight each in the UFC, despite Pyle being 12 years the elder of his opponent. While Hathaway hasn't lost inside the octagon, Pyle has alternated wins and losses en route to a 2-2 record in the UFC. One note of interest is that these two fighters will be almost identical in height and reach advantage, an area that Hathaway has usually had an advantage in. Looking first at Pyle, he has 6 submission skills, scoring 17 submission wins, but at the same time, he's also been subbed 4 times, so he's not invincible on the mat. If he's going to win this fight, that is where he will need to take Hathaway. While Pyle's success has predominantly been one-dimensional throughout his career, Hathaway has shown he is dangerous wherever the fight goes, with 5 knockouts, 4 submissions, and 5 decision wins. The hitman cannot be taken lightly anywhere when the cage door closes. This fight will be decided by Hathaway's ability to keep the fight standing, and if it goes to the mat, he needs to take it there on his terms. If Hathaway can use his wrestling skills to keep the fight vertical, he will have the edge in the striking department. So my prediction for this fight is John Hathaway paying $1.17 to be victorious over Mike Pyle in front of his hometown fans by late stoppage. The co-main event of the night is also in the welterweight division, featuring another native of the British Isles as 23-7 Dan the Outlaw Hardy takes on 25-5 Carlos Condit. Just like Hathaway, Hardy enters the fight as the favorite, paying $1.55, while the underdog Condit pays $2.30. This will be Hardy's first fight since dropping a one-sided decision loss to GSP, but prior to that, the Outlaw ripped off 4 wins in his first 4 UFC fights, while Condit has won 2 in a row after dropping his UFC debut against Martin Kampmann. For me, this match has fight of the night written all over it. These 2 bangers have combined for 22 knockouts to date, and on top of this, neither has ever suffered a knockout defeat. My original expectations were that this fight would stay standing for the majority of the time, but the further I researched, the more my opinion of how this fight could play out began to change. Carlos Condit boasts a solid submission resume with 13 submission victories in his career with only 3 submission defeats, while Hardy has 4 subs on his belt, but also has been submitted 3 times. I'm going to say that Condit should have the advantage if this fight hits the mat based on his jiu-jitsu skills and submission prowess. Looking back at Condit's last fight, he was thoroughly dominated by Rory McDonald, but took the victory away from the youngster with a last-second KO. As a result of that fight, how that fight played out, I had originally written off Condit in the Hardy fight, but when I remembered one key element. Carlos Condit trains with the same camp as GSP, Jackson Submission Fighting Camp. Greg Jackson's ability to game plan and ready his fighters in a fashion that gives them the greatest opportunity for victory is becoming legendary. I'm sure that Jackson and Condit will have sat down and gone over what they learned from the St. Pierre Hardy fight. And what they learned from that fight is if you can put Hardy on his back and keep him there, he's vulnerable. Don't get me wrong, the Outlaw did a more than admirable job of attempting to deal with the takedown machine that is the welterweight champ. And I know that Condit is not George, but I'm thinking that Jackson will be able to build off that fight and create a game plan for Condit that will put Hardy in an uncomfortable position. Further, Hardy hasn't fought in almost 8 months, and if you look back at how Thiago Alves struggled in his first fight after his own 5 rounds of hell versus St. Pierre, you have to wonder if Hardy won't suffer from similar issues. Condit will have a 4-inch reach advantage, which will help him in the stand-up game if it stays standing long, along with a 2-inch height advantage, which will give him leverage when attempting to control Hardy in the clinch. If Condit can score takedowns and control Hardy against the cage, while his ability to win this fight will greatly increase. So my prediction for this matchup is a stand-up battle followed by Condit working over Hardy along the cage, leading to takedowns and attempted submissions, which will result in Greg Jackson's fighter earning a decision victory. So again, my pick is the underdog Carlos Condit paying $2.30 to defeat Dan Hardy. Finally, we move to the main event and potentially the biggest crowd pop all night as the most popular British fighter in the UFC, 20-3 Michael the Count Bisping takes on 13-2 Yoshihiro Akiyama. In this fight, another hometown favorite is also the betting favorite, as Bisping will pay out at a rate of $1.40, and his Japanese opponent Akiyama, the underdog, pays $2.70. Entering this bout, Bisping has alternated wins and losses over his last 4 fights to the tune of a 2-2 record, while Akiyama is on a quick turnaround after dropping his UFC 116 fight back in July to Chris Leben. Prior to that, he had a one-year layoff following his victorious UFC debut. An interesting side note related to records is that Bisping is a perfect 15-0 when fighting on British soil. I did mention that the Condit Hardy fight could be candidate for Fight of the Night, but this contest should also be considered a contender for that honor. Both of these fighters have shown they are more than capable of finishing fights, as they have combined for 26 finishes by either knockout or submission in their combined 32 career wins. When this fight first hit the airways as the main event, I was a little confused as to why Akiyama deserved a main event slot after being worn down and submitted by a resurgent Chris Leben. I think that if anything, Leben is far more deserving of this position, but because he and Bisping already locked horns in the main event of UFC 89 in Birmingham, he was passed by for Akiyama despite his recent shortcomings. There are two things that will dictate the outcome of this fight: Akiyama's gas tank and Bisping's ability to use his footwork to avoid Sexyama's power. In both his UFC fights, the 35-year-old put on a good show but tired quickly, leading to a defeat against Leben and a split decision win over Alan Belcher in a fight that I really felt Belcher should have been given the nod in. Either way, if Akiyama hasn't improved his stamina level, a matchup with the Count could be a tough one. Bisping will be amped up in front of his hometown supporters, which will only further add to his already heightened energy level. Bisping has impressive boxing skills and solid footwork, which will be his key to success in this fight. Against Leben, Akiyama tired after the first round, and I expect Bisping to force Sexyama to exert even more effort in this fight, which should ultimately tire him out even quicker. That being said, Bisping will need to avoid a repeat of the Dan Henderson fight, in which he circled directly into Henderson's power and got absolutely blasted with a highlight reel knockout blow. If I had to pick the more likely outcome, Bisping getting caught with a big shot or Akiyama gassing early and getting picked apart, I'd have to go with the latter. So my prediction for the UFC 120 main event is Michael Bisping paying $1.40 to defeat Yoshihiro Akiyama by decision or late stoppage. In summary, I'll be taking Claude Patrick, paying roughly $1.85, Travis Brown at $2.50, again an estimation, John Hathaway at $1.17, underdog Carlos Condit at $2.30, and in the main event, Michael Bisping at $1.40. Your betting price will be in the neighborhood of $17.42, drop down $100 even, and your payout will be $1,742. Not a bad payout. Quickly, before I go, please check out lowkick.com, a great source of all things MMA, including work done by me under the name ScottyJ86. And as always, my videos are associated with sportsinteraction.com. Follow the link below to get your free cash and sign up to turn that money into a big payout by betting on UFC 120. Again, thank you for watching Kamikaze Overdrive MMA predictions for UFC 120. Please check out my weekly NFL point spread picks. And always comment on my videos. I really enjoy when I see people commenting. And I'll see you back here in a short period for UFC 121.